but I ended up going through a really bad divorce. I got laid off from Ford because they went through a restructuring. And when they went through the restructuring, they had a new CEO and they pretty much cleaned house. And I was one of those casualties. Okay. In the midst of my divorce, I was left with $32 in the bank, and I was now a single mother. On top of that, my whole family lives in Ohio. I live in Michigan, so I had no support system here. I also was 14 days from my house being foreclosed. I got a letter from the mortgage company saying, you haven't made a payment in 3 months. We're going to have to foreclose on your house. The light company was threatening to turn off my lights and my gas. Mind you, I live in Michigan. It's cold here, right? And I have a baby. So I got a baby. I am on the verge of having no house and no heat. And I actually ended up finding myself having to get on food stamps. And for me, this was like the rock bottom of all rock bottoms, and it was like, here I was at this like 6-figure, high cushy job, and all of a sudden, like, how did I get here? I have like less than $50 in the bank. I'm a single mother. Like, I went through all the emotions of dealing with that. And I was just like, you know what? I can either fold or I can soar. I don't know how I'm gonna soar, but I cannot let like my ex-husband think that I need him, right? That was really my motivation, because he told me, he was like, this is a 2-income household. You leave me, you're not gonna be able to survive.
Wow.
And I was like, well, he was abusive. And I was just like, I'm not staying in this abusive marriage solely to have your income.
Right. Food stamps looks better than abuse, period.
And that's how Naturalicious got started. So because I was making these products for myself at home, I had to quickly start to make money to feed my son, pay my mortgage, and pay my light bill. And so pay my gas bill. That was the catalyst for that, like, kicked me in the butt to like, hey, you need to make this happen. And so when I say I started with $32, a lot of times people are like, well, how is that even possible? But honestly, like, when we want to do something, we will make it happen. And Black women specifically, there's like no stopping us, right? Like, there's all these systemic things that are in our way, like lack of adequate funding, lack of capital, that sort of thing. But if you want to make it happen, you'll make it happen. And so what I did, and I don't want to belabor this, but what I did was, there's an open air market here in Detroit called Eastern Market. And I did not even have enough money. The fee to have a table at Eastern Market is like $100. I had 32. So I didn't have enough money to even get a table to sell my products at this like open air, like flea market. So I took my son, who was an infant at the time, put him in his carrier, and I found a table in my basement. Took the table to Eastern Market and just set up shop and hoped that the organizers did not come and kick me out. And I had him. And so he was a baby, and people love babies, right? They really love babies.
Yes.
And so I would almost like use him to like drive traffic to the table. And people would come over and say like, oh my gosh, he's so cute. How old is he? And I'm like, oh, he's like a year, whatever. And I would almost like pimp my son out.
What? Listen, you wasn't selling him. You were selling products, and he was just a byproduct.
Yeah, and he would drive. He was the catalyst that drove people to the table. I would then use that opportunity to tell them about the products, tell them my story, and then sell them on the products. And I would sell out every weekend, and I use that money to pay my bills. And slowly but surely, we started growing and growing more until we finally got into a local Whole Food store, which then led to multiple Whole Food stores, which ultimately led to more and more stores, and now, all the customers that we have now. So.
Yeah, and we didn't even really specifically talk about the brand yet. Like, we just talked about you taking $32 and creating this multi-million-dollar company. But if you're not familiar with